Hey everybody, it's Adam Tracy, and I wanted to talk about surety bonds in the context of money transmission licenses in the U.S. because it's sort of unique to the U.S. And surety bonds nothing more than a substitute for like actual liability insurance, right? Where it's this three-way agreement between you, the purchaser or the financial institution, the state that is licensing you, and surety company, which is a licensed insurance company. And what they effectively say is, in the event of some kind of liability, the bond will pay out to the benefit of the state for disbursement to the aggrieved customers an amount equal to that bond. So $100,000 bond, $100,000 gets paid out. You, the financial institution's still on the hook for any damages above and beyond that. And a general rule of thumb for money transmission license bond, MTL bond, is 1 to 3% of the total bond amount, right? And depending on the state, that varies, right? You know, you go to California, minimum's $250,000, but the state regulators can say we need a bigger bond. Some states, Wyoming, it's like $10,000. So 1%, 3%. Also, what matters, other factors, obviously credit score, right? Like it's akin to getting some kind of credit facility, which always increases the prices for non-US UBOs, right? Because you don't have a credit profile in the US necessarily. And in addition, they'll look at, the surety company will look at like the financials of the business, right? In terms of what your financial wherewithal, assets, liabilities, and the like. And then for a startup, you don't necessarily have anything other than some required capital, right? So you may be adjudged to be a higher risk. And then finally, what you're actually engaging in, right? Obviously, because in the absence of like a crypto license in the US, you're getting a series of money transmission licenses in each state, and crypto is deemed to be higher risk than money remittance, right? Or even running like an ATM network, which generally speaking doesn't require an MTL license. Some states it does, but especially for crypto. So those factors play into like how much you need to pay to buy them, in each state in which you obtain the license has their own bond, right? So it's not one size fits all. You're actually getting a series of bonds in differing amounts, and they're payable to the state in which you ultimately obtain the license. And in terms of the process for getting it, it can be in really quickly. Like if you're a US company, right, and you have UBOs that can sign for it, have decent credit, you can get the quote within a day, right? Sometimes same day, and then you just pay for it and you're on your way. Foreign UBOs, foreign-based entities trying to get MTL licenses, most surety bond companies won't even deal with you, right? There are that will, but you can expect a lot more due diligence in terms of, what is you have to get to them, and their overall underwriting process. It just takes longer, and then it's generally more expensive, but it can be done, right? So, that's it. And you can't apply for the bond, or you can't apply for the license without the bond, nor can you, then the bond's only good for a year, then you have to renew the bond, and so on and so forth. And then obviously, if the bond you have to pay out, then you're on the hook for any amounts above that. So in some cases, depending on what you do, people actually get larger bonds than what is legally required, even though it costs more, and that whole deal. So that's kind of the overview of surety bonds. And in my experience, like, it's sort of the killer, right? When people are looking at and evaluating whether it's worthwhile to enter the US market, especially like in crypto, right? Because the thought of like having to get 50 licenses is just extreme to a lot of people, and it isn't cheap. But in my experience, like the surety bond tends to be the death knell, because it tends to be the most difficult part, right, for a lot of foreign companies. But it's not perhaps as hard as it's made to be, or at least anecdotally thought of, right? So if you have questions regarding surety bonds and need to know of specialty surety companies that can issue bonds for things like crypto, or just interested in money transmission license in the US for any reason, hit me up, adamtracy.io. Talk to you next time. Cheers.